The betrayal, the night was quiet, but her heart was not. The alien girl sat outside her small home staring at the stars. She had always believed her family would protect her. They were her blood, her world, her only safe place in a cruel galaxy. She never thought they could betray her. She never thought they could sell her. Her name was Lyra. She was young, barely past the age of childhood, and still full of dreams. She dreamed of freedom, of learning, of exploring the stars she watched every night. But dreams mean nothing when the people you trust most decide you are worth more as property than as family. Inside the house, voices whispered. Her mother, her father, her uncle. Their words carried through the thin walls. At first, Lyra thought she was hearing wrong, but the whispers grew louder. "She is not useful here," her uncle's cold voice said. "We need credits. The debt collectors will return soon," her father replied. "And there are buyers," her mother added softly. "She is young, she is strong. They will pay well." Lyra froze. Her chest felt tight. Her mind screamed, "No, this cannot be real. They are my family. They love me. They must love me." But the truth was too heavy. Their voices were too clear. That night she could not sleep. She sat silently in her corner, hugging her knees. Fear filled her heart. Her family never looked at her with love again. Instead, their eyes carried something else. Cold calculation. She was no longer their daughter, no longer their blood. She was only a price. The next morning, strangers came. Tall men with harsh eyes and cruel smiles. They wore long coats and carried strange devices at their belts. Traders. Slave traders. Lyra's blood ran cold when she saw them. Her father avoided her eyes. Her mother pretended to be busy. Only her uncle looked at her directly. His face was empty, as if she was already gone. "Take her," her uncle said. His voice was flat like stone. "She belongs to you now." Lyra stepped back. "No, please. I am your daughter. I am your blood." Her voice shook as tears rolled down her cheeks. Her father said nothing. He only turned his back. Her mother's hands trembled, but she did not speak. She did not fight. The traders grabbed Lyra's arms. She screamed, kicked, and tried to run, but they were too strong. One of them laughed. "She is fierce. That will raise her value." Her family stood still. No one moved to stop them. No one called her name. The people who gave her life were selling her life away. Lyra's heart broke as the strangers dragged her out of the house. Her cries filled the air, but no one listened. Neighbors looked from windows, but no one dared to help. Everyone turned away. She fought until her strength was gone. She begged until her voice cracked. Finally, silence filled her, a heavy silence deeper than space itself, she thought. "This is the end. My family has betrayed me. My future is gone. I am nothing now." The traders pushed her into a transport cage. The door slammed shut with a loud metallic sound. Darkness surrounded her. The stench of fear and hopelessness filled the air. Other captives sat inside, their eyes empty, their voices quiet. She joined them, her body shaking, her soul breaking. The transport lifted into the sky, carrying her far from her home, far from the stars she once dreamed about. As the ship left the ground, Lyra pressed her hands against the cold bars. She looked back one last time. Her house grew smaller and smaller until it was just a dot. Her family stood at the door, watching without expression. Her last thought before the ship disappeared into the night was bitter and sharp. "They sold me. My own blood sold me. If family cannot protect me, who will?" Silence, darkness, chains, that was all she knew now. But in the shadows of her despair, fate was waiting. Somewhere in the galaxy, a human would soon cross her path, a human who did not see her as property, a human who would change everything. For now, she did not know. For now, her story was only pain, but the betrayal that destroyed her would lead to something greater. Something no one could imagine. Her story was only beginning. The transport ship rattled as it broke through the sky. Inside the cage was dark, cold, and filled with the quiet cries of the captured. Lyra sat pressed against the bars, her wrists bound with glowing cuffs that burned her skin. Every time she moved, the cuffs tightened, reminding her that she was no longer free. Around her, others sat in silence. Some were old, their faces tired and broken. Some were young like her, but their eyes carried no hope. They had been here longer and they knew the truth. Once taken, there was no return. The air smelled of fear. It was heavy, suffocating. Every breath Lyra took reminded her that she was no longer a daughter, no longer a person. She was property now. The traders walked back and forth outside the cages, laughing among themselves. They spoke of prices, of buyers, of profits. They did not see living beings. They saw numbers, credits. One of them stopped near Lyra's cage. He bent down, his grin wide and sharp. "This one will fetch a good price," he said. "Strong body. Pretty face. She'll sell fast." Lyra turned her face away, her eyes burning with tears. She wanted to scream, but her voice was gone. The betrayal from her family still cut deep. That pain was worse than the chains, worse than the cage. Hours passed. The ship landed with a heavy crash. The cages shook and the doors opened with a loud hiss. Light poured inside, blinding Lyra's eyes. The captives were dragged out one by one, chains clinking as they stumbled forward. They were taken into a vast market, a place filled with noise, smoke, and cruelty. Hundreds of beings from different worlds filled the stalls. Shouts rose in every direction. Traders called out their offers. Buyers inspected captives as if they were tools or animals. The air buzzed with greed. Lyra had never seen anything like it. She had thought her family's betrayal was the worst thing that could happen. But now she realized the galaxy was far crueler than she had ever imagined. A chain connected to her cuffs pulled her forward. She stumbled, nearly falling, but the guard yanked her up roughly. "Move," he barked. His voice was hard, without mercy. She was pushed onto a raised platform alongside other captives. A crowd gathered. Eyes scanned her body, her face, her trembling hands. Murmurs rose. Strong legs. Good health. She'll do. Lyra's heart pounded. She felt naked under their stares. She wanted to vanish, to disappear into the ground. But there was no escape. The trader beside her shouted loudly, "Here is a fine one! Young, strong, and healthy. Who will start the bidding?" Voices rose, numbers called out, offers thrown into the air. The crowd's noise was like thunder. Lyra stared at the ground. Her tears dropped silently onto the dusty floor. She thought of her family, of the stars she loved, of the dreams she once had. They were gone. All of them. Her spirit trembled. Her hope faded. She whispered inside her heart, "This is my end. I was born free, but I will die a slave." Yet in that sea of cruel faces, one pair of eyes was different. A pair that did not look at her like property, but like a living soul. She did not notice them yet. She did not see the human man standing at the back of the crowd, watching quietly. For now, she only felt despair. The bidding ended and her fate was sealed. She was sold. Chains pulled her down from the platform and into another cage. The days that followed were long and heavy. She was moved from one place to another, shown to buyers, inspected like an object. Each time, the same words were repeated. Value, profit, credits. At night, she lay in the corner of her cell, staring at the dark ceiling. She thought of escape, but the guards were always there. She thought of death, but fear chained her even tighter. Her heart whispered, "No one will save me. No one will care," but destiny was waiting. Unseen, unnoticed, the human who had watched her from the crowd had not forgotten her face. While others saw only a price, he saw something else, something worth fighting for. The galaxy thought Lyra's story was ending. But in truth, it was only moving toward a new beginning. A dangerous, impossible, and powerful beginning. For now, she did not know. For now, her nights were filled with chains and silence. But the day was coming when kindness would break through the darkness. And when it came, nothing in the galaxy would remain the same. The market was loud again the next day. Traders shouted, buyers argued, and chains rattled as more captives were dragged into the open. The smell of smoke and metal filled the air, heavy and choking. Lyra sat quietly in her cage, her knees pulled close to her chest. Her eyes were tired. She had no strength left to cry. To her, every day was the same. Chains, shouts, bidding. Then back to the cage. Life had lost its meaning. She had stopped believing in rescue, in hope, in kindness. The galaxy had shown her only cruelty. But among the crowd that day, someone different stood watching. A man, a human. He wore simple clothes, not the fine silks of wealthy buyers. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. But there was something else in them, something the others did not have. Compassion. He walked slowly through the market, passing cages and stalls. He did not rush and he did not shout like the traders. He watched. He listened. He studied. And when his eyes fell on Lyra, he stopped. She did not notice him at first. Her head was bowed, her eyes empty. But when the trader unlocked her cage and yanked her forward, Her face lifted for a moment. That was when her eyes met his. It was only for a second, but it was enough. She saw no greed there, no cruelty. His eyes were steady, almost warm, like a quiet fire in the cold darkness. Lyra looked away quickly. She thought it was a trick of her mind. She thought no one cares. Not even him. He will walk away like the rest. The traitor pulled her onto the platform again. The crowd gathered, eager to bargain. The traitor raised his voice. Look here. A strong young one. Perfect for work or pleasure or service. Who will start the bidding? Voices shouted numbers. The bidding began. Lyra stood still, her shoulders trembling, her wrists burning under the cuffs. She no longer fought. She no longer begged. She simply waited for another chain, another master. Then through the noise, a new voice rose. Calm, firm, different. I will take her. The crowd quieted for a moment. Heads turned. The human stepped forward. His voice was not loud, but it carried weight. The traitor frowned. And what will you pay? The human reached into his coat and pulled out a small pouch. He dropped it on the table. Coins and credit chips spilled out, gleaming in the light. Not a fortune, but enough. The traitor laughed harshly. This is nothing. She is worth far more. You insult me, human. The human's eyes narrowed, but his voice stayed calm. You sell flesh. I buy freedom. This is my offer. Take it, the crowd murmured. Some laughed. Others stared. A few whispered, curious. It was rare to see a human here. Rarer still to see one speak like this. The traitor's face grew dark. Do you think this is a game? Do you think you can order me? She will be sold for profit, not pity. The human stepped closer. His hand rested lightly on the hilt of a blade at his side. He did not draw it, but the gesture was enough. His voice dropped, quiet and dangerous. You can take the offer, or you can lose more than credits today. Silence spread through the crowd. The laughter faded. The traitor's eyes flickered. He saw something in the human's gaze that made his stomach twist. A certainty of fearlessness. Finally, with a curse, the traitor grabbed the pouch. Take her then. But don't return. You'll regret wasting your money. The human ignored him. He walked to Lyra, still standing frozen on the platform. Slowly, he placed a hand on her cuff. A small device in his palm clicked, and the cuffs released with a spark. For the first time in days, her wrists were free. Lyra stared at him, her voice trembling. Why would you do this? The human looked at her with steady eyes. Because no one deserves chains. His words were simple, but they struck her like lightning. No one had spoken to her like that. Not her family. Not the traitors. Not anyone. For a moment, she could not speak. Her chest tightened. Her heart beat faster. She wanted to believe him, but fear whispered in her mind. What if this is a trick? What if he is like the rest? The crowd still watched, some with laughter, some with anger. The human glanced around, then held out his hand to her. Come, we are not safe here. Lyra hesitated. Her chains were gone, but the world was still cruel. She did not trust easily anymore. Yet something inside her moved. A spark. A fragile hope. Her hand shook as she reached out. Slowly, carefully, she placed it in his. And with that touch, her fate changed. The market square grew silent after the human freed Lyra's cuffs. The crowd that had once shouted and laughed now whispered among themselves. No one expected this. A human, in a place ruled by traitors and criminals, standing boldly with a slave girl's hand in his. It was madness. Lyra's legs trembled. Her hand rested lightly in his as if she feared he would let go at any moment. She still could not believe this was real. All around them, eyes glared, sharp with greed and anger. The air was heavy with danger. The traitor who had lost the sale slammed his fist on the table. You dare humiliate me, human? In my own market? His voice shook with fury. No one cheats me and walks away alive. Lyra's heart stopped. She wanted to pull her hand back to run, but the human did not move. He stood calm, his voice steady. I paid your price. You accepted. That means she is free. The traitor spat on the ground. Free? Nothing is free here. This is not your world, human. You think you can walk into our market and challenge us? You will die for this. The crowd roared in agreement. Some shouted for blood, others for chains. Guards armed with shock staves stepped closer, surrounding the platform. Lyra's breath came fast. She whispered, her voice barely a sound. We should run. Please, they will kill you. The human looked down at her. His eyes, calm and unshaken, met hers. Freedom is always a risk, but worth the cost. Then everything exploded into chaos. The first guard lunged forward, swinging his staff. The human moved fast, too fast for their eyes to follow. His blade flashed, a clean strike that sent the staff clattering to the ground. The guard fell, groaning in pain. The crowd gasped. Lyra stumbled back, shocked. She had never seen anyone move like that. The human wasn't just kind, he was dangerous. More guards attacked. Sparks lit the air as weapons clashed. The human fought with precision, each strike controlled, each movement purposeful. He wasn't wild, wasn't reckless. He was focused, as if he had done this many times before. "Take him down," the traitor screamed. "And chain the girl again." Hearing those words, Lyra's fear twisted into anger. She had been silent, helpless, chained. But now, as she watched the human fight for her, something inside her broke free. For the first time, she wanted to fight for herself. The human kicked one guard aside and grabbed her hand again. "We can't stay, run." Together they jumped from the platform. The crowd scattered, shouting in panic. Some tried to block their path, but the human's blade flashed and they fell back. Chains rattled, weapons clashed, screams filled the air. Lyra ran, her heart pounding. She stumbled. But the human's grip pulled her forward, never letting go. They pushed through the narrow alleys of the market, guards chasing behind them. "Stop them," voices shouted. "Catch the girl." The human threw a glance over his shoulder. His face stayed calm, but his eyes burned with focus. He turned a corner, pulling Lyra into a shadowed passage. "This way," he whispered, her chest heaved. Why are you doing this?" "You don't even know me." He looked at her for a moment, then said softly, "Because I know chains, and no one deserves them." The words struck her heart. Simple, powerful. They carried more weight than anything she had ever heard. But the danger wasn't gone. The sound of boots grew louder. The guards were closing in. The alley ended in a wall high and rough. Lyra froze. "We're trapped." The human scanned quickly, then saw a ladder leaning against the wall. Without hesitation, he pushed it up and began to climb. "Go! I'll cover you." Lyra shook her head, fear flooding back. "They'll kill you." He met her eyes. His voice was firm. "Trust me." Something inside her shifted. Despite the chaos, despite the fear, she believed him. She climbed. Each rung cut her hands, each step shook her legs, but she didn't stop. Behind her, the clash of steel and shouts echoed as the human fought to buy her time. She reached the top, her breath ragged. She looked down. The human slashed at the last guard, then leapt onto the ladder, climbing fast. His blade still glimmered with light. The two of them dropped onto the other side of the wall, landing hard but alive. For a moment they lay still, catching their breath. The shouts of guards faded behind them, blocked by the stone. Lyra turned her face toward him. Her voice shook. "You risked your life. For me. Why?" The human wiped sweat from his brow, his chest rising and falling. He gave a small smile. "Because one act of kindness can change everything." Lyra stared at him, her heart pounding. For the first time since her betrayal, hope flickered inside her chest. Small, fragile, but real. The chase wasn't over. The galaxy was vast and cruel, and enemies would not stop hunting them. But in that moment, under the shadow of the wall, something new was born. Not chains, not despair, but trust. And with trust came the first spark of freedom. The night air outside the market was sharp and cold. Lyra's lungs burned as she ran, her bare feet scraping against rough stone. Behind her, the human's footsteps were steady, strong, unshaken. His hand never let go of hers, guiding her through the twisting alleys. Shouts echoed in the distance. The traitors were furious. Guards stormed through the streets, their boots pounding against the ground. Torches and searchlights cut across the shadows, sweeping over walls and rooftops. "They're everywhere," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. "We can't escape. They'll catch us." The human gave her a quick look. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp with focus. "Every chain can be broken. Keep moving." She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe there was a way out. But fear pressed heavy on her chest. All her life she had been told she was weak, powerless, small. Her family's betrayal had carved that belief even deeper, and now the entire market hunted her like prey. They turned down a narrow street, but the glow of torches appeared ahead. Guards, dozens of them. Their weapons gleamed in the light, blocking the path. Lyra froze. "We're trapped again!" The human's grip tightened. He scanned quickly, then spotted a broken drain cover in the corner. Without hesitation, he pulled it open. "Down," she stared at the hole. Darkness yawned below, damp and foul. "Down there?" "Trust me." Her heart hammered, but she nodded. Together they slipped into the drain just as the guard stormed past above them. The stench of rot filled the tunnel, water dripping around them. It was narrow, wet, and suffocating, but it was safe for now. They walked through the darkness, the sound of their steps echoing. Lyra's hands shook. She could still hear shouts above, the guards spreading out like wolves. She whispered, "Why do you keep risking yourself? You don't even know me." The human's voice was low but steady. "I don't need to know you. Chains are wrong. If I can break even one, I will." His words sank deep into her heart. No one had ever spoken like that. Her own blood had traded her for coins. Yet this stranger, this human, was willing to fight the galaxy for her. But their journey through the tunnels was not safe for long. Soon faint lights flickered behind them. Guards had found another entrance. Voices shouted. The chase continued. "They're coming!" Lyra gasped. The human quickened his pace. "Run, don't stop." Water splashed under their feet as they ran through the endless tunnels. The walls dripped with slime, the air grew colder, and the sound of pursuit grew closer. Lyra's legs ached, her breath ragged, but she pushed forward. She no longer ran only for herself. She ran because someone believed she was worth saving. At last, they reached a grate that opened into the outside world. The human forced it open with a grunt, metal screeching as it gave way. Fresh air rushed in. They climbed out into the night again, stumbling onto the rocky hills beyond the market. The city lights glowed behind them, distant but dangerous. Alarms rang in the streets and shadows moved quickly. The hunt was not over. Lyra collapsed to her knees, gasping. Her whole body trembled. They'll never stop. They'll never let us go. The human crouched beside her. His voice was calm but firm. Let them try. We'll keep moving. As long as you breathe, you are free. She looked at him, her eyes wide. She wanted to ask his name, but the words caught in her throat. He was more than just a stranger now. He was her lifeline. A howl of engines cut through the night. Lyra's head snapped up. Hoverbikes. The guards had taken to the skies, their lights sweeping the hills. They're faster than us, she whispered, fear returning. The human scanned the land. He saw an abandoned structure nearby, half ruined, its walls crumbling but offering cover. He pulled her toward it. This way. Stay low. They dashed into the ruins, hiding among broken walls and shattered beams. The sound of engines roared overhead as lights swept past. Lyra pressed against the wall, her heart racing. She whispered, "We can't hide forever." The human's jaw tightened. "No, we'll need to fight, but not tonight. Tonight we survive." Silence fell for a moment, broken only by the hum of distant engines. Lyra looked at him again, her voice soft. "Why me? Out of all the captives, why did you choose me?" He met her gaze. His eyes, steady and calm, held something she had never seen before. Truth. "Because when I looked into your eyes, I saw someone who refused to be broken. And that is worth saving." Her chest ached. She wanted to cry, but no tears came. For the first time in her life, someone had given her worth, not as property, not as a price, but as a living soul. Outside, the galaxy still hunted them. But inside, a fragile flame of hope burned brighter. The escape was not over. It had only begun. The ruins were quiet, broken walls standing like old bones against the moonlight. Dust floated in the air, and the night wind whistled through empty windows. Lyra sat in the corner of a collapsed room, her knees pulled to her chest, her body still trembling from the chase. The human paced near the doorway, his blade resting at his side. His ears stayed sharp, listening for the hum of engines or the shouts of guards. Every sound made him tense, but his face stayed calm. Lyra watched him in silence. She wanted to speak, but her voice felt trapped in her throat. So many questions circled in her mind. Questions about him, about his people, about why he had risked everything for her. But fear held her tongue. At last he turned toward her. His voice was quiet but steady. "You should rest. They won't find us here tonight." She shook her head. "I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces, my family, the traitors, the chains." Her voice broke and tears slipped down her cheeks. For a moment she expected him to turn away the way her family always did when she cried. But he didn't. He crouched beside her, his eyes steady on hers. "I know what chains do. They don't just bind your body. They crush your spirit. But you're stronger than that." She blinked, stunned. "How can you say that?" "You don't even know me." He gave a faint smile, almost sad. "I don't need to. I saw it in your eyes. Even when they dragged you in chains, you still looked up. You didn't bow your head like the others. You still had fire. His words lit something inside her, a spark she thought was gone forever. For so long she had believed she was weak, useless, worth nothing. But this human spoke as if she mattered, as if her spirit was worth protecting. Still, doubt lingered. She whispered, "I don't feel strong. I feel broken." The human nodded slowly. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about standing again when you do. Hope is the same. Even when the galaxy crushes you, even when your own family betrays you, if you still breathe, you can still fight. Lyra's chest tightened. No one had ever told her that before. Her own blood had abandoned her. The traitors had mocked her. The galaxy had treated her like dirt. But this stranger, this human, spoke as though she had value. Silence hung between them, filled only by the whistle of the wind. At last, she asked the question that had burned inside her since the market. "Why me? Out of all the captives, why did you choose me?" He looked away for a moment as if gathering his thoughts. Then his eyes returned to hers, calm and clear. Because one act of kindness can change everything. Maybe it saves only one life. Maybe it saves many. But it always matters. Tonight, that life is yours. Her lips trembled. She had no answer. She only lowered her head, tears falling freely now. Not from despair, but from something she had almost forgotten. Hope. The human stood and looked out through a crack in the wall. The stars stretched endlessly above them, cold and beautiful. "We'll move at dawn," he said. "The market won't give up the chase." "But I've faced worse." Lyra wiped her tears, her voice small. "Are all humans like you?" He gave a short laugh, though his eyes stayed serious. "No, some are cruel. Some are selfish. But humans, we're stubborn. We don't like seeing chains. And sometimes one of us decides to fight no matter the cost." She stared at him in awe. In her world, kindness was weakness. Mercy was foolish. But here was a man who carried both like weapons, sharp and unshakable. The night grew colder and she shivered. Without a word, he removed his cloak and draped it over her shoulders. The warmth surprised her. She looked up, but he was already turning back toward the doorway, guarding her like a silent sentinel. For the first time since her betrayal, Lyra felt safe. Not completely. Danger still lurked outside, and the galaxy was still cruel. But inside these ruins, with this human, she felt something stronger than fear. She felt trust. Her eyes grew heavy at last, and she drifted into sleep, the cloak wrapped around her. Her dreams were no longer filled with chains and betrayal. Instead, she dreamed of stars, of freedom, of walking beside a human who refused to let her fall. And when the dawn came, bringing new dangers, she would not face them alone. The first light of dawn spilled across the ruins. The broken stones glowed gold and the night's chill slowly faded. Lyra stirred, opening her eyes to find the human still awake, standing guard at the doorway. He had not slept. His blade rested at his side, ready, his eyes sharp, scanning the horizon. For a moment she only watched him. He looked tired yet unshaken, strong yet calm, and in that silence she understood something. This man was not protecting her because he had to. He was protecting her because he chose to. "Did you stay awake all night?" she asked softly. He gave her a faint smile. "Old habit." Lyra pulled the cloak tighter around her. "Why do you keep doing this? You risk everything for me, for someone you barely know." He looked at her, his gaze steady. "Because kindness is never wasted. Maybe the galaxy doesn't understand that, but I do." Her chest tightened. She wanted to thank him, but words felt too small. Before she could speak, the sound of engines rumbled in the distance. The market guards had not given up. Dust rose on the horizon as vehicles approached. Fear returned, sharp and cold. "They found us," Lyra whispered. The human's expression did not change. He tightened his grip on his blade. "Then we finish this." The ruins shook as the hunters closed in. Voices shouted, weapons clattered. Lyra's heart pounded. She thought of chains, of betrayal, of her family turning their backs. For a moment, the fear nearly crushed her again. But then she remembered his words. "If you still breathe, you can still fight." She stood beside him. Her legs trembled, but she didn't back away. "I don't want to run anymore," she said. He looked at her with quiet pride. "Good, then stand with me." The guards stormed the ruins. Blades flashed. Bolts of energy scorched the stone. The human moved like fire, his strikes precise, his steps sure. Lyra ducked low, grabbing a broken beam of wood. When a guard lunged too close, she swung with all her strength. The impact sent him crashing to the ground. Her arms ached, her body shook, but she did not stop. For the first time, she was not just surviving, she was fighting. The battle raged, but slowly the guards faltered. They had not expected resistance. They had not expected a human who refused to yield and a girl who had found her fire again. At last, the ruins grew quiet. The surviving guards fled, dragging their wounded with them. The vehicles roared away, their dust fading into the morning light. Silence fell. Lyra dropped the beam, her breath ragged. Her body shook, but her spirit burned. She looked at the human who wiped blood from his blade and sheathed it. "They'll return," she whispered. "Maybe," he said calmly, "but not today. Today you are free." Her eyes filled with tears. She had heard those words before, spoken by traitors who mocked her, but from him they felt real. They were truth. She stepped closer. "I don't even know your name," he gave a small smile. "Names matter less than choices. But you may call me Kale, Kale," she repeated softly. Then she lifted her chin. "And I am Lyra, not a slave." "A property, Lyra." Kale's eyes warmed. "Exactly." The sun rose higher, washing the ruins in light. For the first time since her betrayal, Lyra felt the warmth reach her heart. She was still afraid. The galaxy was still cruel. But she was no longer alone. Her voice trembled, but it carried strength. "You didn't just save me, Kale. You gave me back my life." He shook his head gently. "No, Lyra, you saved yourself. You chose to stand. I only reminded you that you could." Her tears fell freely now, but they were not tears of despair. They were tears of freedom. As they walked away from the ruins toward an uncertain future, Lyra looked once more at the rising sun. She thought of the girl who had been betrayed, chained, and sold. That girl was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone who had found hope again because one human had chosen kindness over cruelty. And deep inside her she knew this truth. She had been sold as property. But Kale's kindness had made her priceless. Her fate was no longer in chains. Her fate had changed forever.